There's always that one IP that genuinely surprises me whenever it gets a follow-up or a sequel. And really I shouldn't be surprised because in this day and age, there's nothing but sequels and remakes, and most of them aren't really deserving of our attention. And Dragon's Dogma being the one to get a sequel 10 years later is a surprise to me, but if you played this dusty first game back then, you were probably open to it. Because while the first game is fun and has some unique ideas, by God is this game crappy as hell. The first game came out in 2011 and was completely forgotten about, but it has some unique things going for it. And while those things were unique, they were pretty much derivative from old classical games, but it all blended up to be a really fun experience still. The combat, while shallow, felt very smooth. The world, again, still shallow but very nicely designed. The characters were pretty much shallow, but you can pretty much interact with anyone on the map and speak to them. And if you got bored, you could pick people up and throw them off a cliff. I absolutely love doing that every single time. The world did have a nice amount of versatility. Everything did look similar for the most part, but the towns had a different vibe from each other. There's a nice variation of music for every location you visited. Customization for 2011 is still one of the better ones I've seen today. Character models just look disgusting. I know my character model looks absolutely ugly. Please, leave her alone. But for the most part on paper, this should be an amazing RPG. But overall, even though I still think this is a bit of a crappy game, I'd still say it's solid. I've seen plenty of people online call this game one of the greatest games of all time, and I kind of want to smoke what they're having because I kind of just don't agree at all. Because this game has plenty of flaws. The story sucks, the conversations are complete ass, the side missions are completely forgettable. The map is absolutely huge with absolutely no fast travel. Well, it kind of is fast travel, but you gotta go through this process to go get some gems to go wherever you want on the map. I can't even remember, something worth explaining. And traveling the map wouldn't be so bad if you didn't keep seeing the same enemies over and over and over again every time you go to the same point. And the game is just super ugly and just super dusty. It's aged like absolute caca. And while the companion pawn system is cool, they just don't shut the hell up. So this game is just super flawed and it's nowhere near being a great game that some people may call it. It's not that at all. But I can't lie, some of the highs in this game are really high to the point where if you were to call it underrated still, I wouldn't be mad at you. Because climbing on top of a griffin and slashing away is way more fun than I thought. I know there would have been plenty of people who absolutely would have loved the hell out of this game, so why it went under the radar for so many people, I have no idea. I'm guessing something came out that year. All that to say, the potential for Dragon Dogma 2 was always there. And when you've given Capcom 4 successful Devil May Cries and you say, hey, I want to make another game, that probably means you're ready. Even if it is 10 years later. And ladies and gentlemen, after putting 60 hours into Dragon Dogma 2, it's safe to say, I absolutely love this fucking game. In short, Dragon Dogma 2 redefines what made everything great in the first game and getting rid of all the annoying shit and the nonsense that pretty much made the game just straight up basura. The world, the gameplay, the story, not so much. The graphics have all been improved to the point where I'm so close to calling this game a masterpiece. But even though I love this game, there are still some gameplay and some directional decisions that pretty much make this game annoying and stupid as to play. All while hiding the word innovative. Hideki, we can see you. This game is not Elden Ring, nor is it Baldur's Gate 3. But they will get compared because with every era you need the main three. You need that big three. The big three that are known to be influential for the next 5 years. It's been 2 years since Elden Ring came out and already I am tired of these Soulsborne games. Enough. But I do think Dragon's Dogma deserves to be part of that big three conversation because even though I think it's not as great as the other two, I think Dragon's Dogma 2 does amazing things to the point where the future of RPG should just straight up copy stuff from this game. Dragon's Dogma gets a lot right. But first, let's start off with the... So I spent maybe 4 to 5 hours creating a character. Why? Because I have nothing there to do with my time. But when you have a character created so intricate and so detailed where you can pretty much just make anyone you want, hell yeah, I'm gonna be on it forever. Soon as a character creator came out, the internet went absolutely crazy with all their character design. From celebrities to original characters they had made to everyone's favorite caveman, Asmongold. And as a black gamer, I'd say they did a pretty decent job with the black hairstyles. They're a Japanese dev studio, so I think they did pretty good. So thanks for being woke, Capcom. I also had a meeting with like every black gamer and we all came to the same conclusion. This haircut right here, it's gotta go. We've had enough. No matter how many times I try, I can never get a character that looks like me. I'm not good at character creators anyway. So I just made an IG model, just, yeah, with a fat butt. My pawn looks really damn cool though. I like my pawn. And I am saying pawn with a W, I'm just British, so don't take the piss. You can make something outside of a human called a Beastrin, and that might be one of the biggest disappointments of the game. It almost feels like they kind of just put it in for furries at this point. I'm not sure why it's there, but we'll get into that a bit more later on. But if you can't make over 100 different faces of your character grade, then I definitely think you failed at making a good one. It all starts to make sense as to why Hideki and his team put so much emphasis into character creator, because that's one of the most important things within the game. Just by the way your pawn is displayed will pretty much change your whole experience throughout the whole game, and that's probably the most innovative thing about the game. For now, let's talk about the story is absolutely superb and lies next to Shakespeare level of writing, and of course I'm lying because the story is absolutely dog shit. The story of Dragon's Dogma does way too much and absolutely nothing all at the same time. Obviously the sole focus is the traversal and the gameplay, but for some reason, the devs just couldn't find good motivators for you to travel this world. The story is that your heart has been stolen by a boss dragon, which is absolutely huge, by the way. That's what she said! And you survived that, making you the Risen, essentially the chosen one to kill this world-ending dragon. That part is fine, but it's B's story, which should be used to learn how to traverse the world and learn the game's systems and helping you defeat that big ugly dragon. While it does do that, it's done in the most forgettable way I've ever seen in a video game. Characters will give you the dumbest reasons to travel or explore just so you can see the world. And the parts I do remember about the story are pretty much because they're very similar to what the game was doing in the first one. It's a big shame too, because there's some nice ideas that are sprinkled throughout the story. A fake Arisen that found a weakness to your pawns, a dude with a god complex trying to summon a world-ending dragon, nicely designed characters with well-looking cutscenes, cast with a friendly ghost slowly guiding you to your destiny. It all sounds cool, right? But unfortunately, I'm having to sneak around the castle like 10 freaking times, seeing poor kids sneaking into a man's office, seeing prisoners. Why is one of the first black characters you meet in prison? Like, Capcom, free my mans, bro. What the f? The story is filled with what feels like absolute nonsense that they made up as they went on. And whenever they wrote themselves into a corner, they'd have Casper the Friendly Ghost completely come in and just fix that for you.
Now, I cannot leave this in your hands. Wait, I've changed my mind.
With so many games with cool stories, cool simple stories, even if they are forgettable, these games do a good job of letting you know that the story just isn't that important and you should focus on gameplay, whatever else the game has to offer. Any game that isn't a Sony exclusive does this well, so what are we doing? Somehow Dragon's Dogma 2 ends up being one of the worst stories I've played in a game in a very long time. Even if the true ending is one of the most coolest things to ever happen in a while for me. I absolutely loved that whole thing. It was just so Zelda, it was perfect. Unfortunately, the rest of the game just isn't like that. So the game's story sucks. Quest lines are decent, some of them are okay, but I'll touch those more in the gameplay section. For now, I do think there's another part of the game that really tells a great story, and that would have to be the story of the best part about Dragon's Dogma 2 is traveling and just seeing the beauty of the world. Hideki and his team, they did it. They did an amazing job. Let's give him a round of applause. Let's give him a round of applause. Come back. Don't get too happy though, because it's definitely not perfect. It's clear Hideki and his team put a lot of time and effort into making the world of Dragon's Dogma 2. There's plenty of times when you're traveling on the road and you're just seeing things interact with each other, even if you're not interacting with anything. Creatures fighting humans, humans fighting creatures, or just creatures just fighting other creatures. Stuff like this absolutely tickles my pickle. This isn't a new method that's done within a video game or within an RPG, but I just think it's perfectly executed here. Hideki said he was absolutely inspired by GTA 5, and I actually think it's a bit more than that. I think he was inspired by the whole of Rockstar, really. Because the last time a game gave me this feeling was probably playing Red Dead Redemption 2. A game that's good at reminding you that you're not the main character of the world. And everyone and everything will just keep moving regardless of what you're doing. And it's the same thing in Dragon's Dogma 2. In this world, you are a guest, and I think that's absolutely perfect. You can find multiple clips online with Dragon's Dogma's world just being completely alive. Even I myself had a couple instances of the world just completely me over. Nah, hold on, wait. Oh, man.
You haven't forgotten us, have you,
Nah, I'm pissed. The world is just beautiful. The visual differences between towns and villages and just how just countries are absolutely incredible. Every location has a nice sense of atmosphere. I'm sure you're tired of hearing that word, but the atmosphere is just atmosphering here. Everything's like making me jump. It's eerie, creepy. When traveling to one place to the next, it really does feel like I am traveling. One of my favorite moments throughout the entire game's story was traveling from the main town, Vermont, to Batal. While this trip might take you 10 to 20 minutes to get there in real life, the game hits you with such versatile world designs, nice variation of enemies, a beautiful day and night cycle, and a checkpoint town to make you feel like you've spent days traveling. It genuinely feels like a real adventure. And when traveling with your pawns, it really helps with that immersive experience because they're just having back and forth conversations with each other. But unfortunately in Dragon's Dogma 2, the game's story isn't the only thing with major issues. Before the game came out, Hideki had said a few controversial statements saying that fast travel is only for games with boring traversal, and all you have to do is just make traversal fun. And while I think Hideki is absolutely correct in this aspect, damn near removing fast travel from your game by far is one of the dumbest fucking shits I've ever seen in a video game. And removing such a thing from your game isn't just innovation, I just think it's straight up annoying and stupid. Having limited fast travel to me is completely silly, counterproductive, and almost screams insecurity. Even as a gamer who has all the time in the world to spend hours on creating a character and making these shitty YouTube videos, I do not want to be traveling back and forth in this huge open world on foot every single time to get to another place. There was plenty of times where I'd do one side mission, go to another location, and have to come back, and someone else says, hey, can you go to that same place again? Nothing will drive you more insane than going through that a few times in this game. Okay, fair enough. Maybe I should have organized my time better and light up my side missions well, like I'm doing within my new game plus. But when you're playing the game for the first time, yeah, I wanted to do Arena and just completely blow my brains out. There's a few times where you may have to travel to Batal, then back to Vermont. Luckily, Vermont has a port crystal that's there by default that was given to us by the gods at Capcom. You can't just pick and choose where to fast travel to, you need something to set in place in that location so you can fast travel to it. And even when you've done that, you still need fairy stones to be able to fast travel to that port crystal, which isn't the easiest to find. So it's very much clear that the game just doesn't really want you fast traveling. And while Vermont has their own one, the other city that you spend a lot of time in, Batal, doesn't have one. Why? 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 So if you don't have a port crystal once you reach Batal, unfortunately, once you leave, you're gonna have to traverse all the way back here all over again. It wouldn't be so bad if Hideki and his team spent a little bit more time on variation when traversing the world. You will see the same enemies in the same place. Hold on a second. Didn't I say this in the beginning of the video about Dragon's Dogma 1? 10 years later, traversal's still just as as it was in the first game. You can always travel at nighttime, which gives you different enemies, different stronger enemies as well, which at first is exciting. But once you spend a few hours within the game, even that gets pretty stale as well. Oh, the ox cart, the same ox cart that gets destroyed every time you travel to Batal, and no matter what you do, the latest thing just completely destroys it and just kills everybody. Yeah, nah, I think they're fucking useless. Luckily, I had a port crystal that you could place in Batal, so I was fine. But if you don't have one, Godspeed on your travels. It's even more annoying if you don't have one, because if you keep coming in here as a human and you don't have a mask with you, this guy refuses to let you in. He just shouts, "Leave this place at once." It was so good killing him. But listen, the average gamer is 35 years old. The 35-year-old has kids, has a wife, has a job. They have lives outside of gaming. Removing fast travel from your game is just annoying, niche title or not. It kind of works in the first game because it's a lot more smaller. In this game, no, it doesn't work as well. If your traversal really is just that good, then players will traverse it. Ask any Skyrim fan. They'll tell you straight, on their second or third playthrough, they tried to explore as much as they could within the world. Why? Because they just enjoyed the fucking game. I do think it's great when games kind of punish you for fast traveling so much, such as making you miss out on great items and great side quests while traveling. But those things need to be there in the first place. Such as a lack of enemy variation, such as a lack of where they're placed. And these enemies don't seem to be scaled to your level, so once you reach a high level, it just starts to feel completely brain dead. And in the end, it feels like limiting your fast travel ends up hurting your game because now we as players can see right through the cracks within your traversal. I probably wouldn't have noticed that issue if you allowed me to fast travel. Like weapon degradation in Tears of the Kingdom, even as a directional choice, I absolutely hate it. If you're gonna make fast travel extremely limited within your game, then you have to make sure that traversal is just amazing, which in this game, it is not. But those first 10 to 20 hours of traversing, one of the most amazing experiences I've had within a game in a long time. The more I played this game, the more I started to notice that this game might just be extremely unfinished. There's a whole forbidden area in Batal with rooms that are so detailed and NPCs that interact with you and give you tips. There's also Batal's lore with people who hate pawns and arisens, and to me it never really gets explored upon. It just screams it's completely unfinished and they didn't really get to execute all the ideas that they had in Batal. It's so detailed yet just so shallow. The game is ambitious. Hideki is ambitious. He wants to challenge the player and I absolutely appreciate and respect that. But the only thing getting challenged is my fucking PC trying to run this game. Everything is alive. Every NPC has a day and night cycle and there are no loading screens. While on paper that's absolutely amazing, in this game it kind of feels annoying because it completely destroys your PC trying to do everything all at once. The technology behind these NPCs are super impressive, but when it gets to the point where players are forced to kill them off to get more frame rate out of your game, I do have to question, what the hell is the point? Especially if it doesn't make the game any more fun fundamentally. Once again, I feel like devs try and copy what the big man Rockstar is doing and they completely fall flat on their face. I don't quite understand the technology behind this game and I don't quite understand game engines and I'm not gonna pretend to. I'll leave that for the folks on Twitter. But I wanted to investigate how intricate these NPCs really are and how far they go. There's this one side mission within the game where you have to follow a beggar around. At the time, I assumed this side mission was there to show off how intricate these NPCs are. I thought it was Hideki just trying to flex on us a little bit. He does this performing thing, then he goes to his side woman, has some dialogue, and then he heads to bed. Cool, pretty straightforward, but then I wanted to see about other NPCs. How far do they go? And to no one's surprise, the NPCs don't really do a whole lot in the world of Dragon's Dogma 2. I wish you could follow them for ages and maybe hear a conversation that might give you a tip about some treasure that might be hidden somewhere within the world. But sadly, it's just not that. The NPCs just wake up, stand there, and go to sleep. You can follow them all you want, but they don't really do anything that benefit the player or your experience throughout playing the game. And that's absolutely fine. It doesn't really need to do that. But when you spend so much time doing these dynamic NPCs and it's taking up so much resources from our PCs, damn near blowing it the hell up, I do have to question, is it really needed or necessary? And apparently that's not really the main reason as to why the game runs so poorly. Apparently these NPCs all have their own mindsets, personalities, move accordingly to what you do to the world. There's a lot to it apparently, but again, I'm not gonna try and pretend I understand how these things work. Why these NPCs all spawn within the same place, I have no idea. You'd have to ask Digital Foundry. Hideki and his team put so much effort into these dynamic NPCs, I just feel like they could have spent more time putting it towards maybe voices that actually match the NPCs first.
Here to ask aught of me, are you?
And not just that, maybe they could have spent more time on just enemy variation, giving us a lot more enemies than what's already here in the game. I've been ragging on this game a bit too much, so before we get to the gameplay section, I want to talk about something that works amazingly in this game, to the point where I think other devs should just straight up steal the idea. Of course, I'm talking about the Now, if you really want to talk about innovation and taking the RPG genre to the next level, I think the pawn system is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Yes, it's in the first game, but I just feel like shallow NPCs that just followed you around and just spoke too damn much. Here, it feels like all the personality and charm that are in this game completely stem from your fellow pawns. I have over 100 hours in this game, and if I were to pick this game back up again, it's mostly going to be because I want to experience this system again. When the game first starts, you can customize your own pawn, which will then accompany you throughout your journey. You don't think anything of it at first, but you then soon start to realize that the way your pawn looks will affect your playthrough. And if you have access to the internet, your pawn will be able to be used by everyone else playing the game. Now that doesn't mean you won't be able to use your pawn or someone else uses it. I'm gonna stop using the word pawn, I'm gonna say servant instead, because I feel like YouTube's about to just demonetize this whole video. That doesn't mean you will lose your main servant, they'll always be right next to you. But you will see other people's servants that they have made come across in your game, and you can hire them whenever you want to. And you can sign up to 3 different servants. Well, more 2, because the one that you have that you made is pretty much attached to you. So here's the kicker, this is where I get all giddy inside. For the most part, pawns are just NPCs that are designed by other people that just follow you around. But let's say, for an example, you find a treasure chest and my pawn is with you. My pawn will then come back to me and let me know where the exact treasure chest is once I'm in the area.
In another world, I learned that a forgotten riftstone lies nearby.
This absolutely tickles my pickle. And that's why I said the way your pawn looks will affect your playthrough of the game, especially since this works with quests as well. So if you're stuck on a quest and you don't know where to go, One of your pawns who has knowledge about the quest because they've done it with their Arisen will say, hey, I know where to go, and they can lead you right to it. I had no idea how to get to Batal before, so I had to go find a rift and find me a pawn who actually knew how to get there. Once I'd done that, I was following them all the way there, which is why in the earlier footage, you see the pawn always running in front. They're showing me where to go. I love it. There are 9 different specializations that you can put on your pawn or just hire other pawns with them. This, to me, is where Dragon Dogma wins over other RPGs. And that's why you want to make an interesting looking servant. That's exactly why they put so much effort into a character creator. Because without...
Carefully conserve my strength
Wait,
endeavor to survive.
Wait, what was I saying? I wasn't done yet. I was saying that's why you want to make a good looking character.
I know precisely when a curative is needed.
Yeah, pawns can be pretty annoying. As you notice, they are all voice acted, which doesn't get repetitive to at least about hour 20, so pretty much everything else within this game. Which to me is still pretty impressive, especially for a game I believe is to be unfinished. But after you're done with somebody else's pawn, you can rate them, you can give them a like, you can send them over a gift, which is pretty much in the first game, but it's a bit more streamlined here. You can rate it before in the last game. I didn't really care for that, so I'm glad it's a bit more simpler this time around. What is annoying though is that you can only give them about 5 to 6 classes, which is unfortunate because there are NPCs who use the other classes. I don't get why it was so hard just to add that code onto our pawn. Surely that shouldn't have been too hard, right? A pawn that is a Mystic Steer hand honestly just sounds like the coolest thing ever to me. But outside of that, I think the pawn system works perfectly, especially since your main pawn can upgrade within the chosen class. And if you do a new game plus, all that information gets retained. It's perfect. They can help with ledges, they can help you with heights and catching you. And when you're out of stamina, they give you a little tap on the back to cheer you up and get more energy out of you. Even when I did a new game plus, I just didn't want to let my pawn go. I just like her too much. She's just really cool. I've used so many different pawns. I haven't found a pawn that beats my Sparrow. So if you see it in your game, be sure to use her. This is also really random, but I feel like a lot of RPGs get it wrong. When you're running with your companions, sometimes they can lag behind and just end up being lost all the time until you fast travel when they appear right next to you again. So a Bethesda game, pretty much. But I really like the fact that in this game, your pawns are always next to you. Sometimes they're ahead of you, sometimes they're behind you. It's in a nice formation. I think it works perfectly. Other RPGs, if you're gonna add companions, please make sure that they stay by you and the AI is this clever at all times. That just needs to be a necessary. That has to be a must. To me, the pawn system is perfect. I'm trying to think of flaws it has, but I think it's done really well and it's just executed perfectly. There are definitely times where they offer to lead you to a chest and then they end up getting distracted by a fight and you can't let them know, hey, can you show me that chest again? They kind of just don't say anything afterwards. But these are things that could probably be fixed with a couple updates. Okay, this video is long enough as it is, so let's head to it. Let's head to the game. Usually when I finish a game, I know exactly how I feel about it, whether I absolutely love it or I'm just ready to tear it to shreds in a video. With Dragon's Dogma 2, I don't really know how I feel. If you've been watching this whole time and still can't figure out whether I like this game or not, I can't blame you. For the most part, I do really love this game, and yes, I do think it's a masterpiece for me because I think it's doing things that are so interesting and innovative that I think will be imprinted on my mind for the next few years. What's really important about the game isn't so much the gimmicks and the stuff around the most important part, which is the gameplay. But when it comes to the gameplay loop and gameplay repetitiveness, that's always something that I am always looking for. How well does it do it and how well does it disguise itself from having that repetitive feeling? Every game has its gameplay loop. Some are better than others, some are a bit more simpler, but I can find beauty in either one. It all comes to the simple factor of if the game is fun or not. The combat in Dragon's Dogma 2 is just superb and I absolutely love it. And I think what makes it hit home is being able to change your classes on a whim whenever you want. The vocation switching is delightful. It was great in the first game and I absolutely love it here as well. I really didn't think I'd need something like this in my video game, but I love this and I hope more RPGs follow this technique of having classes. I just like the look of a sword and a shield, but really it's a thief class that feels the most fun and the most powerful to me. I do think that one's kind of broken as well. And the warrior class to me is just extremely heavy. I just find that one heavy. I hate using it. But the fact that there's over 9, I can't remember, the fact that there's so many that you can choose from and level up all to the max is absolutely amazing. I was aiming to level them all up, but again, once your character's so overpowered, it just takes the fun out of the game, so I just started a fresh new save. There's something about being a tiny person taking on a huge beast that you have no business taking on. Climbing on top of things and hitting a griffin out of the sky makes me feel like a proper action hero. Again, I love those cinematic experiences where you're still in touch with the gameplay. There's fun to be had in difficulty in this game. I started my new game because my favorite moment throughout the whole Dragon's Dogma experience was me trying to travel to Batal, having no camping stuff on me, having no health, and just completely having to run away from every enemy. I enjoyed that. That was my favorite part of the game. So when you get so overpowered in your new game plus, it really doesn't feel fun anymore. And after that 20-hour mark where you are quite strong, it just doesn't hit the same as it did when you first picked up the game. Then you got to deal with this reversal that's just straight up monotonous as well. Did you know that this story had choices? Like you might have forgotten that as you played, but there are choices in this game for the story, and shocker, they don't mean anything. The ending to me is just super impressive, and what's really annoying about the ending of the game is that all the problems that I have after that 20-hour mark all get fixed in that ending. I really just feel like that ending should have just been part of the main story. You get more fairy stones so you can fast travel to wherever you want. You get different enemy types that you have to try and figure out how to defeat because they're all defeated in different ways. The story feels somewhat cool here because you actually made a decision that caused the end of the world. To me, this should have came around the 20-hour mark during the story. Why it's not, I have no idea. It's very frustrating. Romances. Listen, if you're someone trying to romance a male, sorry, there's no cutscenes for you because fuck you. That's why. You're not missing out on anything. The romance is. And of course, throughout the whole video, I've barely used Dragon's Dogma 2 music because I just don't think the music is that impressive. It's not bad, it has some really nice moments, especially after you take down the big boss. It sounds really cinematic and makes you feel great. But the music here isn't anything to write home about. I've heard the DMC5 soundtrack. I do think this is definitely a step below that. I don't think I'm of expertise to compare the two games, really. I played and beat Dragon's Dogma 1, but I didn't analyze it like I have with Dragon's Dogma 2. But I do think there were some amazing moments in Dragon's Dogma 1 that makes me just feel that way. To be honest with you, if you said you enjoyed the first one more because it did a lot more interesting things for you, I'm not mad at you at all. There are less bosses, there are less enemy types, I can tell that much, and I think the music in the first game is a lot more stronger there, that's for sure. I didn't explore all the romance options in the first game, but I want to say there was more as well, but again, it's kind of hard to package because the first game had the Dark Arisen DLC to it with all the expansions all together, and it was all packaged together or something. In this point in time, it's hard to really say because I do feel like we're gonna get the Dark Arisen package for Dragon's Dogma 2 at some point, given how successful the game is. As I said in the beginning of the video, I absolutely love this game, and to me, it's like my masterpiece. I was clowning Dragon's Dogma 1 fans for going hard for a game I just didn't think it was that great, but now I am that fan for Dragon's Dogma 2, and I'm really looking forward to if this game gets DLC. I really am. I haven't spoken on the microtransactions yet, and that's mostly because I tried to do my own investigating and it didn't really lead to anywhere other than the prison system. Prism system might put you in a situation where you might feel forced to buy a fairy stone from its online store. If you end up getting stuck in prison, I'm gonna let you know now, waiting 2 game days does not let you out. Whoever made up that rumor is a liar. I tested it, I'll show you. They don't let you out unless you pay a hefty fee if you have a lot of money in your pocket. If you have no money in your pocket and you go to prison, then they let you out for free for some reason, but they do. Sometimes there's a key or a wall that you can break through, but if that isn't the case, then they'll usually just let you out for the smallest bit of gold compared to how much you have in your pocket. But if you have a lot of gold and they want a lot of gold from you to set you free, that's where you might feel forced to buy those microtransactions, and that's the only time where I felt like it might push you / force you to try and buy it. But outside of that, no, I don't think you really need to purchase them to enjoy the game. There's no pay to win here. Is it acceptable that this game has microtransactions? Listen, I bought the game, so I pretty much endorse it. So I think we're living in an era where microtransactions are gonna be here whether you like it or not. And Capcom seems to have a history of putting microtransactions in their single player games, and I don't think they'll stop for now because a couple of us cried on Twitter. At the end of the day, the investors for Capcom are looking at Twitter. So if you see a game with microtransactions, then just don't support the game at all, don't buy the game at all. And that will be you doing your way of fighting the good fight. It has been fun. It's been fun playing 100 hours of Dragon's Dogma 1, and I'll probably let the game go for a while until we start getting DLC for it. But to be honest, yeah, hopefully this video isn't too long. If you stuck around to the end and you're still watching, then you must really like me, and I really appreciate that. I'm a small content creator that probably isn't smart doing long videos like these because I don't think anyone is watching, but it's been amazing. So have a good night, man.